And we need an order, a global order or a world order that enables everybody to share, cooperate. Complementarity will have to be there. You can't contain someone, you can't contain one nation, you can't force or even use force, all sorts of coercion to subdue nations. This is not acceptable. This is the law of the jungle. We need to get out of this, the law of the jungle. And people will have to be free, live like human beings. No one nation has any right to come and impose its wills on anybody else. And Russia has the right to defend itself. Russia is defending itself on behalf of everybody, every people, everywhere. So the question comes, what is the position of every nation as far as the imposition of sanctions on the Russian Federation or even declaring war against the Russian Federation? Our position was very clear. We are against containment. We are against the domination or hegemony of one nation. We can't accept it. It's not our specific case. It's a case for everybody. Every nation, every people will have to make its position clear. And our support for the Russian Federation against these hegemonistic policies was a natural phenomenon or outcome of what will be done. So it's not a matter of abstaining or supporting or not supporting. It's a matter of taking a position on this phenomenon, which has been there for the last 30 years. And the declaration of war through sanctions or even containment is not acceptable. Now the containment policy is going to China. China will have to be contained again. Everybody who is against this hegemonistic ideology will have to be contained. How can we live in an order, a world order that contains and gives one group, and because of their failures? NATO does not exist anymore. European Union does not exist. They have failed the last 30 years. They have failed imposing their will. So they cannot, at the expense of the destruction of other economies, other people, survive. So I think for us, it was a very natural thing to take our position as far as this declared war is concerned. It's not a matter of taking sides with it or that side. So I think even the media will have to understand this reality. People should not come and tell us there is war between Russian Federation and Ukraine. This is not a war between Russian Federation and Ukraine. This is a war declared again on Russia for the last 30 years. So what's your position? What's the position of everybody? There are no preferences on this matter. It's a necessity, and you take your position based on your understanding of this phenomenon that we have witnessed the last 30 years.
Welcome back to Draft for Africa. Today's feature highlights a crucial conversation among Africa's visionary leaders who emphasize the importance of independence from Western powers. Through strategic alliances and collaborative development efforts, they envision a continent that thrives on its own terms. Discover how unity and shared initiatives can drive Africa towards sustainable progress and autonomy. Let's begin.
قيادة عربية بالكامل تقتل تشنق في المشانق راح نتفرج بماذا؟ ممكن الدور جاي عليكم كلكم. نعم. ليش ما يكون فيها تحقيق في مقتل صدام حسين؟ ليش امريكا قاتلت مع صدام حسين ضد الخميني؟ كان صديقها. التشيني كان صديق لصدام حسين. رامز سلي كان وزير دفاع الامريكا لما كان يدمروا في العراق، صديق حميم لصدام حسين، واخيرا باعوه وشنقوه. حتى انتم اصدقاء امريكا، نحن اصدقاء امريكا، بلاش نقول انتم، نحن اصدقاء امريكا كلنا قد توافق امريكا على شنقنا في يوم ما.
A man who changes his principles depending on with whom he is dealing is not a man who can lead a nation. The context was this: what principle are you being asked to change, you, Mr. Mandela, when Americans question your praise for the human rights under Gaddafi and Castro? What is the principle involved there that you're being asked to change?
Mr. McNeil, this is a matter which should not be handled lightly, as many people do. The first country which we approached in the 60s for assistance when our leaders had to leave the country in order to mobilize the support of the international community. The first country we approached was the United States of America. We could not even succeed to come close to the government, and they refused to assist us. But Cuba, the moment we appealed for assistance, they were ready to do so, and they did so. Why would we now listen to the Western world when they say we should have nothing to do with Cuba? It's just unreasonable. No human being acts in that particular fashion. Here is a country that was the first to assist us when the West, which had formidable resources, was actually supporting the government. Now you expect us to change our whole approach and to start condemning Cuba for what is supposed to be happening inside the country. No man of principles could ever do that.
And then they say he left troops in Syria. You know what I did? I left troops to take the oil. I took the oil. The only troops I have are taking the oil. They're protecting the oil. I took over
we're taking the oil. We're not taking
well, maybe we will, maybe we won't.
They're protecting the facility.
I don't know, maybe we should take it, but we have the oil. Right now, the United States has the oil. So they say he left troops in Syria. No, I got rid of all of them other than we're protecting the oil. We have the oil. And then they say he left troops in Syria. You know what I did? I left troops to take the oil. I took the oil. The only troops I have are taking the oil. They're protecting the oil. I took over
we're taking the oil. We're not taking
well, maybe we will, maybe we won't.
They're protecting the facility.
I don't know, maybe we should take it, but we have the oil. Right now, the United States has the oil. So they say he left troops in Syria. No, I got rid of all of them other than we're protecting the oil. We have the oil. And then they say he left troops in Syria. You know what I did? I left troops to take the oil. I took the oil. The only troops I have are taking the oil. They're protecting the oil. I took over
we're taking the oil. We're not taking
well, maybe we will, maybe we won't.
They're protecting the facility.
I don't know, maybe we should take it, but we have the oil. Right now, the United States has the oil. So they say he left troops in Syria. No, I got rid of all of them other than we're protecting the oil. We have the oil.
And just to let you know where all the money in America is going, this is where it's going. This is called empire. This is imperialism. These are all the military bases the United States has around the world. You know, no other country has this. Just the United States has this. Nobody else does this. China, Russia, they don't have bases all over the world. Who does? We do. Because that's how capitalism ends up. You have to use a gun to keep it going. And you have to become fascists, which is what Joe Biden did to the railroad workers when he crushed a railroad strike. That's called fascism. The stuff that you hear all the time on TV as fascism isn't. That was actual fascism, and this is why our country is going down the shitter, and we're ending like all great empires end. We're overextending militarily while we won't take care of our own people at home. We just sent $15 billion, which could take care of everybody here in the United States. We just sent it to Ukraine with no debate, no talking about it, and we just built another military base in Syria. We built 3 more in the Philippines just in the last couple months. That's where your money's going, because your government is 100% corrupt, not regular corrupt. It's 100% corrupt. This is called corruption. Do you see this? Do you know what this is called? This is called $1 trillion a year in corruption, because that's all this is. These people are there. These military bases are there to make sure American corporations can extract natural resources from these places. Look at all the bases we have outside of China. Look at this. Here comes South America, Central America. Look at that. Can you imagine if China had these many bases in South and Central America or anywhere?
Yeah, right.
Can you imagine if China had all these bases in the Middle East? Imagine.
We have to have those bases so they don't get those.
So they don't get them.
Yeah. Don't you know there can be only one Jimmy? Didn't you see The Highlander?
No, I didn't.
Oh.
But that's where your money's going, and people are not upset. They still want you to be upset at your neighbor. They want you to be upset at MAGA, at white supremacy, at everything, except they don't want you to be mad at
Everybody
this.
talks about Donald Trump's going to be a dictator. Like everyone's been Julius Caesar. And that's at the best of times. Since World War II, we've had a Roman Empire.
Yes.
I begin to understand not only our Africa, but the more I begin to understand us as Black people. Why is it that we are the most disrespected people on earth, no matter where you find us on this globe? They often wondered why these Black people are so smart and so indestructible. Maybe it's because of that third eye. No, it is the melanin. That's what makes us special. That's what makes us the origin of humanity, which is our motherland. Our motherland, Africa. The continent with everything and anything the world needs. The continent that everybody is going to for their needs. But the continent that we, the children of Africa, are busy running away from, that keeps me up every night. The more I try to dig deeper in understanding as to why Africa is where Africa is today, I couldn't help but find myself repeatedly going back to the beginning to say, how did we end up where we are as Africans? How did we get here? Not only as black people, but as Africans. The colonizers started coming to Africa, starting with the Portuguese, followed with slavery. But by 1884, after they had been haphazardly going into our continent, looting from the Africans, pretty soon they started looting from each other the loot that they had looted from the Africans. And before you know it, they were killing each other. And they were getting ready to have a war, a European war on the African soil. So Bismarck, the Chancellor of Germany at that time, called his sidekick Leopold, King Leopold of Belgium, said, listen, we got a problem. We're getting ready to kill each other and have a European war in Africa. Why don't we call all the colonizers? That was France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Portugal, Belgium, and of course the mighty Britain. Let's all meet in Berlin, Germany, and strategize on how we can organize ourselves so we can effectively see to it that Africa and her children are forever defeated and dominated. They proceeded to chop up our Africa into tiny little countries that we know of today. Economies that are designed to see to it that they will never make it on their own. And in the event those small economies do make it, they're easy to destabilize.